The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. They built telescopes. They sent probes. They dreamed of the day when they would finally leave their small blue planet and explore the universe. That day came on a cold morning in December when the research vessel Sunrise detected something strange. Captain Park stood on the bridge, her coffee growing cold in her hands as she stared at the screen. A ship had appeared from nowhere. It was massive, at least 10 times larger than the Sunrise, and it was made of something that looked like living crystal. Light moved through its structure like blood through veins. "All stations report," said, her voice calm despite her racing heart. Her crew of 40 responded one by one. Weapons were offline because the Sunrise was not a military ship. Communications were working. Life support was stable. Everyone was scared but ready. The crystal ship did not attack. Instead, it sent a message. The words appeared on every screen on the Sunrise, translated into perfect Korean. "We are the Galactic Council. We come in peace. We wish to speak with your leaders." Looked at her first officer, a tall man named. He had served with her for 15 years, and she trusted his judgment more than anyone else's. "What do you think?" she asked. "Studied the alien ship on the... I think we're about to find out if all those science fiction movies were right." 3 hours later, stood in the cargo bay of the Sunrise. The alien had come aboard through some kind of transport beam. It called itself Ambassador, and it was unlike anything had ever imagined. Was tall, perhaps 3 meters, and its body seemed to be made of light and silver threads that moved like hair in water. It had no face that could recognize, but somehow she knew when it was looking at her. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere, soft and musical. "Captain Park," said, "your species has reached a wonderful moment. You have left your planet. You have touched the stars. The Galactic Council has watched your progress for 300 of your years, and we are impressed." Bowed politely. Her grandmother had taught her that manners cost nothing. "Thank you, Ambassador. We are honored by your visit." Silver threads rippled with what might have been pleasure. "The Council wishes to offer humanity a gift. We call it the Golden Offer. In 9,000 years of galactic civilization, we have extended this offer to over 200 species. All of them accepted. All of them prospered." The ambassador raised one silver appendage, and suddenly the cargo bay was filled with images. Saw planets covered in beautiful cities. She saw ships traveling between stars in seconds. She saw beings of all shapes and sizes living together in peace. "This can be yours," said. "Medicine that will cure every disease your people have ever known. Technology that will allow you to travel anywhere in the galaxy in moments. Access to markets spanning 12,000 worlds. All the knowledge of 100 civilizations." Felt her heart beating faster. This was everything humanity had dreamed of. This was the future. "What do you ask in return?" she said carefully. His form flickered slightly. "Simple things. Reasonable things. Humanity would join the Council as a junior member. You would contribute workers to our mining operations in the Outer Rim. Your young people would serve in our peacekeeping forces for a period of service. And during a transitional period of 500 standard cycles, the Council would help govern your planet to ensure a smooth integration." Was quiet for a long moment. The images still floated around her, showing wonders beyond imagination, but something cold had settled in her stomach. "How long is 500 standard cycles?" she asked. "Approximately 400 of your Earth years." Nodded slowly. "And during this time the Council would make decisions for Earth." "Only important decisions," assured her. "Your people would still manage their daily lives. The Council would simply guide major policy to ensure humanity develops correctly." "I see," turned to look at her crew. They stood in silence, watching her. She saw hope in some faces and fear in others. She saw give her a small nod. She turned back to the ambassador. "These mining operations, what would our workers do there?" threads waved gently. Extract resources, simple labor, the work is not difficult. And how long would they work? Terms vary, usually 20 to 30 of your years. And the peacekeeping forces. Humanity has shown talent for conflict. Your soldiers would help maintain order in troubled regions of the galaxy. Fighting other people's wars, said quietly. Paused, maintaining peace. It is an honor to serve the council. Walked slowly across the cargo bay. She looked at the beautiful images floating in the air. She thought about her daughter back on Earth, only 12 years old. She thought about her parents, who had worked in factories their whole lives so that could go to school and become a pilot. She thought about the history of her own planet, about every time a powerful nation had come to a weaker one with gifts and promises, about the price that was always paid. Ambassador, she said finally, I must be honest with you. This offer is generous. The things you show us are wonderful, but I cannot accept on behalf of humanity. The silver thread stopped moving. You decline. I decline to give you our young people as workers and soldiers. I decline to let you govern our planet for 400 years. I decline to trade our freedom for your technology. His form flickered rapidly. Captain Park, perhaps you do not understand. No species has ever refused the golden offer. In 9,000 years, not one. Smiled politely, then we will be the first. But why? We offer you everything. Looked at the images one more time. Then she looked at her crew, at the faces of ordinary humans who had traveled so far from home. Because everything you offer comes with chains, she said, and we have spent our entire history fighting to be free. We will not give that up now. She bowed again to the ambassador. Please tell the Galactic Council that humanity appreciates their interest. We wish them well, but we will find our own way to the stars. Ambassador stood in silence for a very long time. Then, without another word, it vanished in a flash of light. Moments later, the crystal ship turned and disappeared into the darkness of space. Walked over to stand beside. You just told an ancient galactic civilization to go away. Watch the stars through the cargo bay window. Yes, I did. They might not take it well. No, they might not. She turned to face her crew. Send a message to Earth. Tell them everything. Humanity needs to prepare. The sunrise turned toward home, carrying news that would change everything forever. The news hit Earth like a bomb. For 2 weeks, it was all anyone could talk about. Aliens were real. They had offered humanity the stars, and Captain Park had told them no. Some people were angry. They said had no right to make such a big decision alone. Others called her a hero. Protests filled the streets of every major city. World leaders held emergency meetings. Scientists worked day and night to study the data from the sunrise's encounter. 3 months passed, then the aliens returned. This time they did not send one ship, they sent 70. The fleet appeared near Earth's moon, blocking out the stars with their massive forms. There were crystal ships like the one Ambassador had used, but also vessels made of dark metal, organic ships that looked like giant sea creatures, and strange craft that seemed to exist in more dimensions than human eyes could see. Admiral stood on the deck of the orbital station Horizon, watching the fleet through the main viewport. He had been promoted after the first contact incident. Earth had decided it needed a military presence in space and was the best candidate. He wished he felt more confident about that. Beside him stood Dr. Lee, the newly appointed Secretary of Interstellar Affairs. She was small and quiet, with gray hair and sharp eyes. Before the aliens came, she had been a professor of international law. Now she was responsible for negotiating with beings from across the galaxy. 70 ships, said quietly. They really want to make an impression. Adjusted her glasses. They want to intimidate us. It is a very old tactic. The third person in the room was General, commander of the United Earth Defense Force. She was tall and stern, with scars on her hands from 30 years of military service. The Defense Force had exactly 12 ships, none of which could match even the smallest vessel in the alien fleet. "Can we fight them?" asked. Shook her head. "We cannot, so we will not try, we will talk." The meeting was held on the Horizon Station. Representatives from all major council species attended. The sent ambassador again, his silver threads dim with what might have been embarrassment. The sent high counselor, an ancient being whose body looked like stone covered in glowing moss. The delegation included Delegate, a bird-like creature with brilliant purple feathers. And there were others, the reptilian, the gas cloud. High Counselor spoke first. Her voice was like rocks grinding together. "Humans, you have made a mistake. Ambassador reported your refusal and we believe there was a misunderstanding. You are young. You do not know how the galaxy works. We forgive your error." Stood calmly before the assembly. She barely reached shoulder, but she did not seem small. "Thank you for your understanding," she said. However, there was no misunderstanding. Captain Park explained our position clearly. "We are grateful for the Council's offer, but we cannot accept terms that would compromise our independence." Stone body shifted. "Then we offer new terms. We have spent 3 months discussing how to address your concerns." She raised one heavy arm, and a document appeared in the air. It was 47,000 pages long, written in 17 different languages. "We have reduced the labor contribution," said. "Only 10% of your working-age population would serve in the mining colonies. The peacekeeping service would be optional rather than mandatory, though we strongly encourage participation. And the transition period would involve shared governance rather than full council control." Accepted the document. "We will need time to review this." "Of course, you have one of your weeks." For 7 days, teams of lawyers, scientists, and diplomats studied every word of the new treaty. Led the effort personally, sleeping only 3 hours each night. She read every page, every clause, every footnote. On the 6th day, she found what she was looking for. Hidden deep in section 4892, there was a clause about population optimization. It gave the Council the right to move human populations to different planets if it was determined to be beneficial for galactic harmony. There was no definition of what that meant. There was no way to appeal such decisions. In section 12445, there was a paragraph about resource sharing. It gave the Council access to Earth's oceans to harvest a rare compound found in certain types of plankton. The compound was used in life extension treatments for Council species. The harvest would be carefully managed, but there were no limits. In Section 1776, there was a note about cultural exchange programs. Young humans between 16 and 60 could be selected for programs lasting up to 30 years. The selection process would be handled by Council administrators. Families would receive appropriate compensation. Gathered her team for the final meeting. Admiral and General stood with her. "What did you find?" asked. Removed her glasses and rubbed her tired eyes. They changed the words but not the meaning. Under this treaty, they could take our children and call it cultural exchange. They could empty our cities and call it optimization. They could drain our oceans and call it resource sharing. His expression was dark, "So they think we are stupid. They think we are desperate," said. "They think we want their technology so badly that we will not read carefully. They have done this before. I am certain of it." The next day, the human delegation returned to meet with the Council representatives. High Counselor looked pleased. "Have you reviewed our generous new terms?" she asked. Bowed respectfully. "We have, every page, every clause." "Excellent, then you are ready to sign." Looked at with calm, steady eyes. "We decline." The chamber went silent. Delegates' feathers stood on end. Ambassadors' threads went completely still. Several of the smaller species started whispering among themselves. Stoneface did not change, but her voice became very cold. You decline again. Yes, we found the clauses you hid: population optimization, resource harvesting, cultural exchange programs. These are not partnership terms. These are the terms of conquest written in polite language. Stepped forward. She towered over, her ancient body radiating power. You are making a serious error, Dr. Lee. The Council has been patient. We have been kind, but our patience is not unlimited. Did not step back. Neither is our tolerance for deception. You are alone in this galaxy. You have no allies. Your ships are weak. Your weapons are primitive. What do you think will happen if you continue to refuse us? Smiled very slightly. I think you will learn that humanity has survived worse than you. We have survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that killed millions. We are still here. We will continue to be here. And we will never sign a treaty that turns our children into slaves. She bowed once more. The Council knows where to find us. When you are ready to offer true partnership with no hidden clauses and no tricks, we will be happy to talk again. Then she turned and walked out of the chamber, within close behind. The Council representatives watched in stunned silence. For the first time in 9,000 years, they did not know what to do. The Galactic Council had stood united for 9,000 years. It had survived wars, plagues, and the rise and fall of empires. Its members disagreed sometimes, but they always found a way to work together. They had to. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and unity meant survival. But humanity changed everything. In the great chamber on the Council, species that had been allies for centuries now shouted at each other. High Counselor stood at the center, trying to maintain order, but her ancient voice was lost in the chaos. Military action is the only answer, screamed a delegate, his insect wings buzzing with anger. These humans must learn their place. Violence will only make them more stubborn, argued a representative, its gas cloud body pulsing with worried colors. We must be patient. Delegate of the spread her wings wide. Perhaps we should simply ignore them. Let them sit alone in their little corner of the galaxy until they come crawling to us for help. Ambassador floated in silence. He had returned from his second failed mission with something strange inside him: doubt. In all his centuries of diplomatic work, he had never met a species like humanity. They were afraid, he knew. They were weak, but they refused to bend. The delegation said nothing during the debate. They were a reptilian species, known for their cold logic and practical minds. Their leader, an old soldier named, watched the chaos with yellow eyes. He was thinking about something the human negotiator had said, about hidden clauses and tricks, about deception. They had been members of the Council for 4,000 years. They had sent their workers to the mining colonies. They had given their soldiers to the peacekeeping forces. They had followed every rule and accepted every demand, and in all that time had never thought to question why. Now he was beginning to wonder. On Earth, life continued. People went to work. Children went to school. The sun rose and set, but everything was different. Everyone knew that hostile alien eyes were watching from above. Everyone knew that danger was coming. President Ryu addressed the United Nations on a bright spring morning. She was a small woman with silver hair and a gentle voice, but when she spoke, the world listened. "My fellow humans," she said, "we face the greatest challenge in our history. A galactic civilization with technology beyond our imagination wants to absorb us into their system. They offer wonderful gifts, but the price is our freedom. They want our workers, our soldiers, our children. They want to govern our planet. They want to control our future." She paused, looking at the cameras that broadcast her words to every corner of Earth. "Some say we should accept. They say we are too weak to resist. They say the Council will crush us if we continue to refuse. Perhaps they are right. Perhaps we cannot win this fight." The chamber was very quiet. "But I believe that some things are more important than winning. Freedom is not just a word. It is the right to make our own choices, to follow our own path, to raise our children according to our own values. Our ancestors fought for this freedom. Many of them died for it. We will not surrender it now. In the back of the chamber, General stood with folded arms. Beside her was Commander Shin, a young engineer who had been working on something secret for the past 6 months. "Is it ready?" whispered. Nodded. "It works. We tested it yesterday." Allowed herself a small smile. "Show me." They left the building and drove to a military base outside the city. Deep underground, in a laboratory filled with humming machines, showed her creation. It was a shield generator. During the first alien visit, the Sunrise had recorded detailed scans of the crystal ship, had spent months studying those scans, trying to understand how the alien technology worked. She could not build a ship as advanced as theirs, but she had figured out how to block their weapons. "The energy signature is unique," explained. "Their weapons use a specific frequency. This generator creates a barrier that disrupts that frequency. It will not stop everything, but it will give our ships a chance." Stared at the generator. It was small, maybe the size of a refrigerator, but it represented something much larger than its size. It represented hope. Across the city, Professor Moon sat in her office at the Seoul Advanced Physics Institute. Papers covered every surface. Equations filled the whiteboard on her wall. She had not slept in 3 days. The Galactic Council controlled travel between stars through a network of jump gates. Every species that joined the Council had to use these gates. The gates were the Council's greatest source of power. Without access to them, no one could travel faster than light. Had studied the data from the alien fleet's arrival. She had noticed something strange. The ships had not come through a jump gate. They had simply appeared as if from nowhere. For months, she had worked on understanding how this was possible. And now, finally, she thought she had the answer. "It is not a gate," she muttered to herself, scribbling more equations. "It is a fold. They fold space itself, and if they can do it, so can we." She was still years away from building a working prototype, but the theory was sound. Humanity did not need the Council's jump gates. Humanity could build its own path to the stars. News of these developments reached the Council within weeks. They had spies everywhere, hidden among the humans, watching and listening. When High Counselor received the reports, her stone body trembled with something she had not felt in a very long time. "Fear. They are reverse engineering our technology," she told the emergency council session. "In less than 2 years, they have made more progress than most species make in a century. They have developed shield harmonics. They are working on independent faster-than-light travel." Delegate's feathers went flat against her body. "That is impossible. No primitive species could advance so quickly." "And yet they are doing it," said. "We underestimated them. These humans are not like the others. They do not wait for gifts. They take what they need and build what they cannot take." Of the leaned forward. "Perhaps we should stop treating them as primitives," he said quietly. "Perhaps we should start treating them as equals." The chamber went silent. Several delegates looked at with shock. "Equals?" repeated. "They are barely a century past their first atomic weapons. They have not even fully colonized their own solar system." "And yet they frighten you," said. "They frighten all of us. That fear is the beginning of respect." He stood up, his old bones creaking. "They will not participate in any military action against humanity. We have watched these beings. We have studied them. They do not bluff. If we attack them, they will fight. And even if we win, the cost will be terrible." He looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. "The council has ruled the galaxy through fear and control for 9,000 years. Perhaps it is time to try something different." Then he walked out, leaving chaos behind him. The fractures had begun, and they would only grow wider. High Counselor stood alone in her private chamber, staring at the stars through the crystalline window. She was old, older than most planets in the galaxy. She had seen civilizations rise and fall. She had guided the Council through countless crises, but she had never faced anything like this. The vote on military intervention had failed. They had walked out. 3 smaller species had followed them. For the first time the Council was truly divided. And it was all because of one small species on one small planet. Made a decision. If open force would not work, she would try something else. She summoned her most trusted agents, beings whose existence was known only to the highest levels of Council leadership. Go to Earth, she told them. Do not reveal yourselves. Find the weaknesses in their society. Turn them against each other. Remind these humans why they need guidance. The agents departed in a ship designed to be invisible to all known sensors. They arrived on Earth a week later and began their work. Intelligence Director Bay was not a remarkable-looking man. He was of medium height, with a round face and glasses that he constantly adjusted. He worked in a small office in a government building in Seoul, surrounded by computer screens and empty coffee cups. Most people who walked past his door assumed he was just another bureaucrat. They were very wrong. Had spent 30 years studying patterns. He could look at a collection of random events and see the connections that others missed. He had caught terrorists, exposed corrupt politicians, and prevented 3 wars before anyone knew they were about to start. Now he turned his attention to the alien threat. Something is not right, he told his team on the 3rd day after the Council agents arrived. Look at these reports. He pointed to a screen showing news from around the world. In America, a senator had suddenly changed his position on the alien question, now arguing loudly for accepting the Council's terms. In Russia, mysterious funding had appeared for a political party that promised to open negotiations with the aliens. In India, a popular religious leader had received a vision telling him that the Council were divine messengers. All of this happened in the past 48 hours, said. Too many coincidences in too short a time. His team spread out across the globe, following the patterns. Within hours, they identified the alien agents. There were 7 of them, beings that could change their appearance to look like any species they wanted. They had infiltrated governments, media organizations, and religious institutions. They were planting seeds of fear and doubt everywhere they went. Could have exposed them immediately. A single press conference would reveal the truth to the world. But he was a patient man, and he had learned long ago that the best traps were the ones your enemy walked into willingly. He sent false information through channels he knew the agents were watching. He let them believe their operation was working perfectly. He showed them a humanity on the edge of civil war, ready to tear itself apart. The Council agents reported back with excellent news. The humans are breaking, they told her. Give us another month and they will beg for our protection. Allowed herself to feel hope for the first time in a year. 6 days after the operation began, made his move. President Ryu appeared on every screen in the world. Beside her stood the captured alien agents, restrained by technology that Commander Shin had developed specifically for this purpose. My fellow humans, the President said, I speak to you today with proof of the Galactic Council's true nature. These beings were sent to our planet in secret. Their mission was to divide us, to frighten us, to make us doubt each other and ourselves. She presented the evidence, recordings of the agents' communications, documents outlining their plans, testimony from humans they had tried to manipulate. The Council claims to offer us partnership, the President continued. But partners do not spy on each other. Partners do not try to destroy each other from within. The Council sees us as children to be controlled, not equals to be respected, and we reject that completely. The broadcast was transmitted on all frequencies, including those used by the Council. Within hours, every species in the galaxy had seen the evidence. The response was immediate. 3 more species from the Council, disgusted by the revelation. The who had already been questioning their membership formally requested an alliance with Earth. Several others began secret communications with human diplomats. High Counselor watched the chaos unfold from her chamber. Her stone body had developed new cracks from the stress. For the first time in her very long life, she considered the possibility that she had made a terrible mistake. She made one final decision. She would go to Earth herself. She would speak to the humans directly, leader to leader. She would find out what they really wanted. Her ship arrived at Earth a month later. It was not a warship but a diplomatic vessel, small and elegant. She came alone, with no weapons and no guards. Mayor Song of Seoul was chosen to meet her. He was an unlikely diplomat, a former teacher who had entered politics almost by accident. But the humans had learned that respected quiet strength more than loud aggression, and was the person they knew. They met in a garden in the center of the city. Cherry blossoms fell around them like pink snow. Stone body seemed out of place among the soft petals, but she did not seem to mind. "Your world is beautiful," she said. "I have visited 10,000 planets and few can match it." Bowed his head politely. "Thank you, we are quite fond of it ourselves." They walked together in silence for a while, moved slowly, her ancient joints grinding with each step. She was tired in a way that had nothing to do with her body. "I have come to ask you a question," she finally said. "What does humanity truly want?" Considered this carefully before answering. "We want to be left alone. That is all. No technology, no medicine, no help building your empire among the stars." "Those things would be nice," admitted, "but not at the price you ask. We will develop our own technology, we will find our own cures, we will build our own ships. It will take longer, yes, but it will be ours." Stopped walking. She looked at the human with her ancient eyes, trying to understand. "Name your terms," she said suddenly. "Whatever you want, full autonomy, technology without conditions, seats on the High Council itself, everything you have asked for and more, just join us, please." The desperation in her voice surprised them both. Led her to a window overlooking the city. Below them, millions of people moved through the streets. Children played in parks. Old couples sat on benches feeding birds. Workers rushed to meetings. Students argued about philosophy. Life, in all its beautiful, messy complexity, continued as it always had. "You still do not understand," said gently. "We do not want to join you. We want to be neighbors." Stared at him. "Neighbors?" "Yes. We want to trade with you, learn from you, share our ideas with you. We want to visit your worlds and welcome you to ours. We want friendship between our peoples, but we will not be your subjects. We will not follow your rules. We will not give you power over our lives." He turned to face her directly. "The council is like a family where the parents never let their children grow up. You control everything. You decide everything. And your children never learn to think for themselves." He smiled kindly. "Humanity grew up alone. We made our own mistakes and learned from them. It was hard, but it made us strong. We will not give that up, not for all the wonders in the galaxy." Was silent for a very long time. The cherry blossoms continued to fall around them, soft and peaceful. "I do not know if I can give you what you want," she said finally. "The council does not know how to be neighbors. We only know how to rule." "Then perhaps it is time to learn something new," said. Looked at him, at this simple human who spoke to her without fear or hatred. And for the first time in 9,000 years, she wondered if everything she had believed was wrong. 5 years had passed since the day Captain Park first said no to the Galactic Council. In that time, everything had changed. The first human colony ship, named the Hope, had landed on a world orbiting. The planet was not perfect. It was cold and the air was thin, and the soil needed years of work before it could grow crops. But it was theirs. They named the colony New Horizon, and on the day of its founding, every human in the galaxy celebrated. Commander Shin had perfected her shield technology. Human ships now traveled through space protected by barriers that could stop most weapons. They were still weaker than Council vessels, but the gap was closing every year. Professor Moon had done the impossible. She had built a working space-fold drive, a device that could carry ships between stars without using the Council's jump gate network. The first test flight had traveled from Earth to Mars in 3 seconds. The second test reached the edge of the solar system. The third went to Alpha and back. Humanity had found its own road to the stars, and they were not alone. They had become humanity's first true alien allies. Their ambassador, the old soldier, spent most of his time on Earth now. He said he liked the food and the weather, but everyone knew the real reason. He was fascinated by humans in a way he could not explain. "You remind me of us," he told Admiral one evening as they sat watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. "When they were young, we were stubborn too. We fought against impossible odds. We refused to surrender even when surrender was the logical choice." Smiled. "What happened?" "We joined the Council. We stopped fighting. We became comfortable." His yellow eyes were sad. "We forgot who we were, but watching you humans I am beginning to remember." The Galactic Council still existed, but it was smaller now. 14 species had left to join a new organization, one created by humans but open to everyone. They called it the Interstellar Cooperative, and it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ambassador Han stood at the podium for the first official session. She was young for such an important position, only 34 years old. But she had spent her whole life preparing for this moment, even before she knew it would come. "Welcome," she said, looking out at the assembled delegates. "Welcome to all species, large and small, ancient and young. Welcome to a new kind of alliance." The chamber was beautiful. Human architects had designed it in consultation with all member species, creating a space that felt comfortable for everyone. There were pools for the aquatic races, heated rocks for the reptilians, special atmospheric zones for beings who breathed different gases. Every detail had been considered. "The Interstellar Cooperative has no rulers," continued. "We have no senior members or junior members. Every species has an equal voice. Every species has the right to say no." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We will not demand your workers or your soldiers. We will not govern your planets or control your futures. We ask only this: when you make a promise, keep it. When you give your word, honor it. Treat others the way you wish to be treated." Delegate of the who had left the Council 6 months ago raised one feathered wing. "And if we disagree? If we want to do something that others oppose?" Smiled. "Then we talk, we argue, we try to find a solution that everyone can accept, and if we cannot agree, then we agree to disagree. No one is forced to do anything they do not want to do." "That seems chaotic," said a representative, his antenna twitching with uncertainty. "It is," admitted, "but freedom is always a little chaotic. That is the price we pay, and we believe it is worth paying." In the back of the chamber, High Counselor sat quietly. She was no longer High Counselor, of course. She had resigned after the failed infiltration of Earth, taking responsibility for the disaster. Now she was simply private citizen, observer of history. She watched the humans and their allies talk and argue and laugh together. She watched species that had been rivals for centuries share meals and tell jokes. She watched young beings from different worlds play games during breaks in the session. It was everything the Council had claimed to be and never was. During a quiet moment, Han came to sit beside her. The human woman showed no fear of the ancient stone being, only polite respect. "You could join us, you know," said. "You personally, I mean. We could use your experience." Stone Face could not smile, but her voice was warm. "I am very old, Ambassador. I have spent 9,000 years doing things one way. I am not sure I can change now." "You already have," said. "You came here as an observer, you could have stayed away. You could have refused to acknowledge what we are building, but you came. Was quiet for a long moment. Outside the chamber window, a human child ran past, chased by a young. Both were laughing. How did you do it? Asked suddenly. When we first came to you, you had nothing. No ships, no weapons, no experience with the galaxy. How did you resist? Thought about the question carefully. She thought about Captain Park, who had made the first choice. She thought about Dr. Lee, who had read 47,000 pages to find the truth. She thought about Commander Shin and Professor Moon, who had built new technology from nothing. She thought about President Ryu and Director Bei and Mayor Song and all the other ordinary humans who had done extraordinary things. Because we remembered something your people forgot, she said finally. The most advanced technology is not ships or weapons, it is trust, and trust cannot be bought or demanded, it has to be earned. Looked around the chamber again. She saw beings from 30 different species working together, not because they were forced to, but because they wanted to. She saw trust being built with every conversation, every handshake, every shared laugh. Perhaps it is time I learned something new, she said quietly. Stood and offered her hand to the ancient being. It was a human gesture, a symbol of friendship and equality. Did not fully understand it, but she understood enough. She took the offered hand and rose to her feet. Come, said. Let me introduce you to some people. The delegate makes excellent tea, and the ambassador tells wonderful stories about the old days of the galaxy. They walked together into the crowd, the ancient stone being and the young human ambassador. Behind them, through the great windows of the chamber, the stars shone bright and endless. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had not built an empire or crushed their enemies. They had done something much harder and much more valuable. They had reminded the galaxy what freedom looked like. And the galaxy, slowly but surely, was beginning to remember. In her small apartment on New Horizon, Captain Park watched the broadcast of the cooperative's first session. She was retired now, spending her days gardening and reading and playing with her. But she still remembered that moment on the sunrise, 5 years ago, when she had told the most powerful civilization in the galaxy that humanity would not be ruled. Her granddaughter, a curious child of 7, climbed into her lap. "Grandmother," the girl asked, "were you scared when you said no to the aliens?" Smiled and hugged the child close. "Yes, I was very scared." "Then why did you do it?" Looked out the window at the alien sky, at the strange stars that were slowly becoming familiar. "Because some things are more important than being afraid," she said. "Because freedom is worth fighting for, even when you might lose. Because I wanted you to grow up in a world where you could make your own choices and follow your own dreams." The girl thought about this for a moment, then she smiled. "I am glad you said no, grandmother." Kissed her forehead. "So am I, little one, so am I." Outside, the sun was setting over New Horizon, painting the alien clouds in shades of pink and gold. Somewhere out among the stars, 30 species were learning to work together as equals. Somewhere in the old council chambers, ancient ways were crumbling. And somewhere in the hearts of every human, a fire burned that would never go out. The fire of freedom. The fire of hope. The fire that said, "We will never stop reaching for the stars."